Cryptocurrency, even though it's in the news a lot, many of us just don't know much about it. A Pew Research Center survey found we have extreme feelings. Either we don't trust it, or others surveyed said crypto is the wave of the future. We have one of the leading experts in the field joining us to give us a better understanding of crypto as currency and as an investment. Michael Sonnenschein is the CEO of Grayscale, the largest crypto asset manager in the world. Good morning to you, Michael. Thank you so much for joining us to talk about something that a lot of people are talking about, but a lot of people don't know what crypto is and how it's used. Give us some of those details.
Good morning. It's great to be here. So let's dive in. Crypto is a new asset class, and it's underpinned by an exciting new technology called blockchain. So directly out of that research you just referenced, crypto means different things to different people. I think what's so exciting about crypto here today in the US is that many of us believe that crypto actually can serve as the foundation for the next evolution of the internet and much of the way that we interact. And so if you're an investor and you're thinking about crypto, it could be a way to either diversify your investment portfolio or simply just think about investing for the future.
And you highlighted some of those in that statement there, but what are some of the major advantages of investing in cryptocurrency?
Well, for a lot of folks, because crypto is new, we actually usually start with an analogy. So if we look at, for example, our banks and our payment systems, they're only open certain days of the week and certain hours of the day. And so payments can only be made, in a kind of restricted time window. And that doesn't really reflect the 24/7 world we live in. And when you contrast that with things like Bitcoin, where payments can be made instantaneously, any day, any time, in any size, between people, between businesses, it really does start to show us how some of the benefits of this technology can really help us to improve upon some of our legacy systems and really give some value to some of the things that we're all really excited about.
And there are a lot of cryptocurrencies out there. How do you choose the one to invest in? How do you make that decision?
Well, that's right. There are thousands of digital currencies out there. We often find that investors start investing in crypto by looking at the two largest digital assets, which are Bitcoin and Ethereum, because not only of their size, but also they're some of the digital assets that have been around for the longest. When investors think about them, though, it can be tough to determine where to buy them and how to store them and safekeep them. And so at Grayscale, what we've actually done is created investment funds so folks can invest in Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other investment vehicles right alongside the other assets they own in their investment accounts.
And what do you say to those folks who say that crypto isn't going to last? What do you say to those folks?
Well, I would ask them where they're getting their information. From my point of view, crypto is an industry that's continuing to grow and gain momentum. There are hundreds of thousands of people employed by the crypto industry. There are millions of people investing in crypto. And in fact, it's getting the attention of our legislators. In Washington now, there's new draft bills passing through Congress that could support the continued growth of the crypto space. So if you're listening or watching this, if you take anything away, it's really that crypto as an asset class is here to stay.
And crypto's been making headlines a lot lately. The SEC deciding whether or not to allow Bitcoin to be included in exchange-traded funds or ETFs. What is the latest on that information?
Well, ETFs, as many investors know, is a way to access all different types of investments. Could be gold, could be oil, could be the S&P 500. And so the SEC to date has not allowed for Bitcoin ETFs to come to market. We at Grayscale operate GBTC, the world's largest Bitcoin fund, and we've actually been litigating against the SEC to allow it to convert to an ETF, something that we know investors want, something that we know investors deserve, and will create greater protections for them. So we do expect a decision on the litigation by the fall at the latest, and I know a lot of folks, including us, are very eagerly awaiting when that day comes.
Cryptocurrency is a vast landscape. If our viewers want to, invest in crypto, what is your advice on getting started and where can they go to learn more?
Well, crypto is new, so anything new has to start with education. I invite folks to come to the Grayscale website, grayscale.com. We have a wealth of information, videos, and papers that they can read and interact with to get better educated. And if they're interested in allocating some investment capital, either into Bitcoin or into Ethereum, definitely search for tickers GBTC and ETHE in their brokerage accounts, and that might be an easy way for them to get started.
Giving us some clarity on something that a lot of people just don't understand and know a whole lot about. Michael, thank you so much for your time this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you.